Hello, assalamualaikum sa inyong lahat. I am Brother Juars Alferez. I am a member of the Ordo Carmelatorum Descalzatorum Seculares, or it is known as the Order of the Descalzed Carmelite Secular. So I am your instructor or professor in this subject. Then for some information, I have been teaching here in your institution, I think for more than 6 years already. So medyo veterano na tayo. Maybe some of you are my students when you're still in college, or some are studying Notre Dame University. I have been teaching university for 16 years. But now I transferred to the other institution sa gobyerno para masubukan naman natin o natikpan ko naman ang pera ng gobyerno. So I am presently connected in soon-to-be University, the Cotabato State University. So once again, you can call me Brother Juars, Sir Juars Alferez. So we'll be discussing today about the leader's role in resolving conflict and negotiating style. So once again, welcome to this class. Though this is virtual, this is a recorded lecture. I hope makita mo yung pagmumukha ko. Then when you will go outside, just say, "Hi sir, you are my teacher in this JLC class sa batch ninyo." So once again, welcome my dear police officers. Then we're going to review first, before going to conflict resolution, about you as leader, you as our leader as police officers. Then, what about a leader? So it is said that a person who influences a group of people towards the achievement of a goal. So which means, kayo yun. You are a leader. You are our leader because you are our protector, the ordinary citizen. So once again, a person who influences a group of people towards an achievement of a goal. Next, leader lives in each of us. Nature would also tell us, like the drawing, this penguin, you look at this one, there is somebody there who leads. Same is true with us as a rational animal, as human being. That's why I told you, you are a leader, I am a leader, but kayo yung nasa authority as our leader, being a police officers. Then a leader is the one who directs others. You know that one. Whatever is our profession, you are the one who directs. That's also based on your experience. Then occupies a chief position, especially you. You are now in a junior leadership class in this course. So therefore, medyo umaangat na kayo. Kaya nga, you are here para another position mapropromote kayo. Then, once again, occupies the chief position and therefore has the responsibility to love and care for his follower. So take note of this, love and care of your followers. For example, a new policeman, women, men and women, pumasok sa inyo, kayo yung nagli-lead. The question now, do you love and care for your followers? Or baka inuto-uto ninyo, baka siga-siga kayo. And that's not a good leader, remember. Next, there are types of leadership or being a leaders. One is leader by a position achieved. Pwede yung kayo yon. Then leader by personality and charisma. Maybe some politicians, they have a good charisma. Then leader by moral example. Nasa atin din yon. Then leader held by power or power held. Then of course, an intellectual leader, I think that's true to all. Then leader because of the ability to accomplish things. Sana naman, ganun din tayong lahat. As leader, you have the ability to accomplish things. In accomplishing those things, I think in your organization, you have the mission, vision. So that's very important. Being a leader, you have all your decision, all your activities should be anchored on that mission, vision as a leader. You look at the picture. These are the examples of great leaders. I think if you can identify that one, Martin Luther King, the nun, the Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and the very famous of his non-active violence, sino yun siya? Si Gandhi, si Mahatma Gandhi, then si Abraham Lincoln, then of course si Washington, the President of the United States. They were the examples of great leaders. Then, teamwork, you know that one very well as a police officers. Motivation, inspiration, leadership. Then I told you with this vision. Vision is what you want to be in that organization. Then innovation. Ang resulta dyan is success to that organization. Kaya i-add mo yung teamwork, motivation, inspiration, of course, your leadership, your vision and innovation, ang resulta dyan is the success. Okay? Of all the activities of the activities of your organization. Then, what about leadership? So it says leadership is you lead people or leading people, influencing people, commanding people, and guiding people. So once again, leadership, leading people, I think that's self-explanatory. Influencing people, commanding people, guiding people. I think you are familiar with this, especially commanding people because you are men in uniform. Of course, the four of that, of what is meant by leadership. Next, another definition according to Littlefield. Leadership is a process of influencing other to attain goals. So therefore, these goals is very, very important. That's why in our mission, vision, we have the goals or the objective. And all of that should be anchored to that objective, and that's the goal. In Cebuano, we have the so-called kwanggol. Kwanggol ning pulisa, kwanggol ning tawhana. What is kwanggol? Ibig sabihin, kulang ang goal. That's why as leader, you have to have a goal. Then to reach that goal, there are steps na gagawin. Pag wala kang goal as police officers, kwanggol ka. Okay, that's kidding, but that's the reality. Okay? Then another thing. Leadership is the ability to inspire. So I told kanina, to inspire, influence others to the attainment of that goals through formal or informal procedures. Formal, talagang sinusunod yun. Informal, pwede yung leading by example. Susundin ka sa mga kasamahan mo. Or in an ordinary activities. It can be informal. Okay? Then another thing. Leadership is the ability to influence the behavior of others towards the achievement of a mutually established goal. So this is, I think, good for you as our leader, police officers. Once again, influence the behavior of others. Sa inyo, meron ba kayong sinasabi na obey before you complain? There are times sa pasok din yung blind obedience. But it's up to that leader kung sino yung sinusunod mo. But yung sinusunod mo, sabi nga, towards the achievement of the mutually established goal, ang ganda. Pero hindi natin maiwasan na may iba, you have the goal. Sabi nga, may mga kwang goal. And you know that one very well, yung mga kwang goal. The scalawags. Prangkahan tayo, the scalawags. So what happened? Until today, there are scalawags. I'm not generalizing. Majority of you, talagang ang gagaling. Model. Okay? A true leader. But only few. And that few, yun yung nasisira. Kasi isip kasi ng mga ordinary citizen like me, para bang hindi na rin mag-iisip minsan, ang pulis na naman, ganito. Pero Gamit lang utak, we cannot generalize everything. Ang gawa ng isa, hindi naman gawa ng lahat. But, sabi once again, influence the behavior of others towards the achievement of the mutuality established goal. Sana dapat ganun. That goal, of course, that direction, maganda yon kasi goal yon in an organization as a police officers. Pero nga, may konti lang dyan na may ilan lang na nadamay din tayo. I think you would agree with me. Next, there are mnemonic for leadership. You take note on this 3 P's. The person, of course the individual, and the group, the people, and the purpose. You look at that Venn diagram, they are interconnected. Kasi yun yung talagang nasa leadership. Tao, mga tao, at saka kung ano yung purpose mo. Okay. I told you leadership by nature, kahit na walang intellect and will ang mga ibang nilalang, but they follow a leader. That's why all of us, a leader and a follower, I think when you were still in that, yung mga recruit pa kayo, alam na alam ninyo, follower and a leader. Kaya alam na alam niyo yun. But by nature, the other creatures, dapat may magli-lead din talaga. Then how much more to us, human being? Kailangan yon. Pero ulitin ko, kayo yon. Kasi kayo yung nasa authority. Doon ako sasaludo sa inyo. If you're a good police officer, if you're a good leader, talagang sasaludo ako sa inyo. Kaya talaga. Kung pwedeng luluhod ako sa inyo, luluhod ako sa inyo. If you are a good leader. Tandaan niyo yan mga sirs, mga moms. We move on. So once again, this is a reminder. There are a lot of characteristics being a good leader. First is a vision. I told you that this vision is very, very important. Yun bang what you want to be? That's your vision. Anong gusto kong mangyari sa aking organisasyon o sa aking sarili bilang isang police officers? Okay? Then of course, you have to be passionate. Alam niyo yan. Wise din. Use the intellect. Then you have to have a compassion. With passion, especially to your kabaro, and of course to the community where you are serving. Then a leader should be charismatic. Kaya nga walang dapat na mga pulis na yung ano ba, kung sa Cebuano ba, tanga-tanga ba? Huwag magtanga-tanga. You have to be charismatic. You have to be energetic. Okay? Nasa inyo yan. Kasi you are trained on that. A charismatic police officers. Yun bang ang galing ninyo in leading people? Hindi naman ang galing magbula, but that's part of being a charismatic. Okay? Next is good communication. So this is very, very important. One of the characteristics you have a good communications because there are times. Kaya nga minsan tinitingnan ko sa bulletin board yung mga communication dyan, may memorandum. There are times kahit ako may mga technicalities siguro, hindi man ako police officer, pero sabi ko, malabo itong memorandum nito, hindi masyadong maintindihan. How much more to the ordinary police officers? I think you can attest to that. So communications that is both written as well as oral. Okay. Next, persistent. Then, integrity. Very, very important. That's one of the, tingnan nyo, integrity. Then, courageous. In Italian, coraggio. Courage. Do not be discouraged. Kasi pag ma-discourage ka, may problema. Okay, you are not a good leader. Then discipline. This is very, very important. Discipline is very, very important. Not only for us ordinary citizen, but especially to you as our leader. Discipline of course, saan? In anything, in any matter. Personal, then makikita man yan. So, bato-bato sa langit, ang matatamaan, mabukol ha. Example, the vices. Kakalungkot minsan, no? I can tell you, I have the authority to tell you, especially ganyan. Kasarap. Minsan nagpo-post nga ako na huwag kayong magnamay kung gusto niyo magpakamatay. Kaya nga in Davao City, mayroon sila doong lahat na ninigarilyo may lugar. Ala, sige banat-banat. Pero problema din, matagal man mamatay. Ang madaling mamatay, kami hindi naninigarilyo. But of course, balik yan sa inyo, discipline. May bisyo ka man, especially sigarilyo, balikan kita dyan. Are you a good leader? Tandaan niyo yan ha. Mark my word. Are you a good leader? May discipline ka ba? Okay? Kasi vices, that's a problem now. Another thing, atin-atin lang, itong tinatawag nating the last yung biga, maririnig natin kahit na ako palagi ako nakikinig sa Tulfo, especially to the police officers na may kaso dyan, na alam na may asawa siya, mga bit pa, lahat-lahat na, discipline, walang disiplina. Dan sabi ni Tulfo, ano, di ba alam mo yan sir? Dapat ikaw yung maglilid. Kasi sir, tao lang po kami, justify agad, but you know, do not justify. That's not a good leader. Okay ba? Sabi ko, huwag kayong magalit sa akin, prangkahan tayo. Kasi that's why, you have a training now, although may medyo nasa, na kayo, veterano na kayo na pulis, but what is important, as a human being, I think you also need somebody to remind you once again. So as your professor, I am reminding you, please, kaya nga yung the previous, mga senior, mga junior, kita nila ako sa labas, uy, si sir, at least aware sila. Ay, may bisyo ako. Yung iba mahilig, haram yan. Sabi ko nga, kung may mas lamang pa sa haram, ikaw na yun. Okay? Sige. So, matamaan ka, mabukol ka. Wag mo lang akong pagalitan kasi I'm just reminding you as your friend, as your professor. Next, a leader should be a teacher. Of course, not only me as your teacher by profession, but you are also a teacher in your own way to your children. Kaya nga, ang hirap din pagiging teacher because you lead by example. Kaya nga ikaw, may sigarilyo ka, mahilig ka mag-inom, may mga anak ka. Tapos wag sabihan mo, wag kayo magbisyo, tapos nagbisyo ka. Are you a good leader? That's the point there. Are you a good teacher? That's the point there. Okay? Brother, sir, wala man talaga akong pero ang mga anak ko, well, you cannot blame yourself. Maybe may problema din sa inyong parenting. But we cannot also blame you kasi because of the influences also of the environment. That's also a psychology would tell us na environment, the social media, yun, grabing influence. Kaya nga sinasabi nga, parental guidance is highly recommended. Kasi may karahasan, sexual, horror o droga na hindi angkop sa mga batang manonood. Kaya nga, pag-uwi nyo sa bahay, as leader, as teacher, as a good leader, pag may mga panoorin doon mga bata, sitahin ninyo. Palagi ngayon yan, sige laro, nabuang mga bata. So it's up to you. Discipline those, your kids. Okay? Then, a leader should be a critical thinker. Okay, isip-isip, marunong ka rin mag-isip. Critical thinker. When you're still in college, palagi yung ginagamit sa philosophy, to have a good critical thinking. So therefore, ngayon, as professional, as police officers, gamit lang. Huwag kang magbadala, uy, tingnan natin, you look at both sides of the coin. May hari, may patay. Ganon talaga palagi. Hindi yung, doon tayo, dapat alam mo, both sides. Okay? Then, a buffer, advocate, a visionary. Kaya nga, may vision ka, visionary. Influencer, alam natin yan. Creative problem solver. So, this is more on related to critical thinker. Kung may problema, sabi, a leader dapat courageous. So, therefore, mangyayari dyan, you know how to solve problem. Kaya ito ngayon ang ating topic. Leader's role in resolving conflict. Then, change agent. Kung may pagbabago, dapat do not resist that pagbabago. You'll be the one to lead that pagbabago. Like our president today, nahihirapan siya. Radical change, di ba? Radical, he is an agent of change. Radical change. Ano yung sinabi niya ni Duterte? Yung war on drugs, your tukhang na trabaho ninyo. I hate drugs. I hate drugs. Okay? Kasi mga anak niya, addict din noon. Kaya nga, at least nagbago. Okay? But because of the change, pero until today, ang Pilipino, grabe, ang tigas ng ulo. May tukhang, hanggang ngayon, tuloy-tuloy. Kaya nga, problema ninyo as leader. Then, problema na nga isa ta droga, sinasakyan pa sa ibang mga kasamahan ninyo. Hanggang ngayon, kita nyo sa Maynila. Kinidnap na, nabasa nga ako sa group chat ninyo. May kinidnap naman na pulis. Sunod-sunod yun sa Maynila. So ngayon, mag-isip ng mga tao, bakit kaya? Anong kasalanan? Is it related to drugs? So that's a big question now. And I think you know that one. Okay? As police officers. Then, diplomat. A role model. So ito na yung related also sa teacher. Being a role model. Yun bang practice what you preach. That's being a role model. Huwag kang magganito anakan yung nakikita sa'yo. Because you're a role model. Okay. So we move on. So a good leader dapat marunong magpanday. Tutulungan lahat na dapat aangat. Tandaan ninyo yan ha. Kayo umaangat na kayo hinay-hinay. But in reality in an organization, hindi naman lahat ng mga leader na tinutulungan ka ang angat. Yung iba na, sabi nga, the crab mentality. But being a good leader kayo, wag na yung gayahin yung mali. Dapat kayo iangat sila. Kung may mga bagong mga applied, mga bagong police officers na magiging kasama, tulungan nyo sa i-guide niya. Kasi pag nakita ka niya as a good leader, sasaludo yan sa iyo at saka yung legacy mo, i-reassign ka man sa ibang lugar, pero yung nakuha sa bagong police officers, yun yung hindi makakalimutan nila. Buong buhay nila yung dala-dala. Okay? Dala-dala nila yon. At hindi ka makakalimutan. Okay. We have also the traits, leadership traits. From the leadership, the word in itself. Listener, lovable. You ask yourself, are you a good listener? Are you lovable? Or baka makita ka lang sa kasama mo, parang tumutulo na yung sipon nila sa galit. Okay? A leader, dapat energetic, effective. Then, alert, assertive. Dapat kayo yun kasi a police officer, palaging handa, dapat yan. Alert talaga yan. Then, determination and diligence. Are you determined? Then, empathy and eagerness. What about empathy? What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? I think alam niyo yan. You empathize someone, yung putting your shoes, your feet to the shoes of others. That's empathy. Okay? Then, a leader should be responsible. Being responsible, dapat makatotohanan ka rin. Realistic. Hindi yung wala sa mundo yung mga iniisip mo. Hindi realistic. Then, once again, itong self-respect and self-control, very, very important. Kasi if you have respect to yourself, makikita yan sa iba, irrespeto ka rin. Wala kang respeto sa sarili mo. I think familiar kayo sa nangyayari few months ago. Yung police officers, harap-harapan. Anong sinabi? I don't care. La, 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 la. Pang, 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 pang. No discipline, bad leader, baka adik yun. Diba? Sirang-sira, damay yung mga mababait, damay kayo. Kasi ang ordinary people, hindi yan nag-isip, nasabi ko naman, mga astig masyado. Pero ulitin ko, we cannot generalize because you are doing good. Okay? But yun, halata yun. Kahit to sino naman sir, makita yung kabaro ninyo, hindi nararapat. Not a good leader. Okay? Walang respeto sa kapwa. Sublaw, sabi nga ng iba, may mga nagbabala sa nag-comment, dahil grabe, mahal niya yung anak niya, pero ang anak niya dinamay pa. But in reality, talagang may malakas lang sigurong kapit sa pulis na yon. Okay? Ano ay? May mga kaso na. Pero ngayon, ang problema nga, sabi nga ni Tolfo, problema yung basta kabaro, kung pwedeng yung takpan talaga yan. Okay? Pwedeng takpan talaga yan. So ngayon, with the social media, hindi matakpan, no? Kaapat na pala ito. May mga kaso na pala ito, pero bakit hindi tinanggal? That's a problem also of the organization. That's a challenge also. Okay? That's a challenge to all of us, the civilians, at saka kayo. And you know that one. You know that one very well. Okay? Then the interest, being impartial, then patience. Sabi nga, patience is a virtue. Being a leader, dapat pasensyoso ka. Yung namaril ng ordinary citizen, kung matahaba yung kanyang pasensya, hindi mangyayari yun. Pero sabi ko, pumapasok si demonyo, pero ang alam ko, you were trained. You were trained na hindi patayin ang tao kung hindi naman kailangan. Pero yun, harap-harapan in public. Okay? So well, I'm not saying na kayo yun you are a good police officers, but I'm just reminding you about your traits as a good leader. So another thing, another traits, from the traits in itself, yung word the traits, tolerance, readiness to listen, ability to make decision. Ayan. When it comes, minsan magka-dilemma ka man, anong gagawin ko? So ayan, ability to make decisions. Magdesisyon ka kung kailangan talaga. But if not, kung alanganin ka talaga, ask for your superior. Kasi may nakakataas man sa atin. Like me, as teacher, there are things na isa man ako sa admin, sa Polytechnic, program head ako sa Peace and Development. There are things na ang problema na I cannot really make a decision because may superior tayong tinitingnan. So yung superior natin, we have to consult. That's being a critical thinker din as a leader. Kaya nga sinasabi, in making decisions, kung nagdududa ka, huwag magpadalos-dalos. You ask your superior. Okay? Intelligent, tapos natin, trustworthiness. Then sincere dapat ang leader. So, yun yung leadership traits nandoon mismo sa mga titik niya. So, we move on. So, leadership, ito na, you look at the diagram, dapat alam mo how to empower your men. Inspire your people, your men. Then, you have the vision in your organization, and you have also your own vision as a member of that organization. Why not share for the betterment of your organization? Then, lead change. Next, there are types of leadership. Formal, sabi nga, there will be an approved position. So, yun yung formal. Then, informal, in this, there will be no official appointment to act but is able to persuade and influence others. Kaya nga kayo, kung italaga kayo bilang chief of police, formal yon kasi tinalaga ka. But kahit na hindi ikaw chief of police, sabi nga, informal, if you'll be able to lead people, ang ganda. Natulungan mo yung chief of police mo. Okay. Kaya nga, there are times na nagsiselos yung chief of police kasi ikaw as member, ang gagaling mo. Charismatic ka, nadala mo yung mga tao. So therefore, nagiging parang threat ka na tuloy niya. Uy, grabe tong bata ko. Ang galing. Pero dapat hindi ganon. Kasi tumulong ka lang. Okay? Then congruent leadership or another types is it focuses on the particular individual or close-knit group performing a particular task. Ito yung hindi din maganda. Kagaya din sa amin sa school, may mga kasamahan ako noon when I was in the university. Ang klase, of course, sa klase mayroon man talaga yung mataldal. Mga buluyagon na estudyante. Yung kasama ko, hayaan nila yun. Dito ako, ito lang, kayo man makinig, dito ako magturo sa inyo. Tama ba yun? May problema yun. Focus lang sa isang individual o sino lang yung sumunod. You are not a good leader. So yun yung tawag nating congruent leadership. Bahala kayo dyan, basta turuan ko ito sila. Okay, same is true in your organization. Huwag yung sabing in a particular individual, kasi tayo man ka-vibes, pareho yung ating frequency, tayo lang. What about the others? It shouldn't be like that. Because an organization, kagaya yan sa united we stand, divided we fall. Because of the mission in your organization. Dapat ganon. Hindi yung congruent leadership. Then, transforming leadership. Medyo maganda from the word itself. Transform. Okay, leader to direct his energies outwards toward rather than inwards. So outwards, pinalabas lahat. Hindi lang sa sariling kapakanan, kundi sa kapakanan ng karamihan sa organisasyon. Kaya nga, transforming leadership. Okay, na sana doon tayo lahat nagtatransform na. Kasi veterano na kayo sa inyong serbisyo, sa inyong profesyon, being our police officers. Then, you look at this, leadership, of course, may mga followers yan. Then you have a certain goal, sabi natin kanina. Pag wala kayong goal, personal goal, as well as the goal of your organization, mga goal ang mga tao. Kulang ng goal. Okay? Kaya nga sabi ko, I am a pure-blooded Cebuano. Pag sabi, goal, maning tawhana. Pag goal ka, you don't have direction in life. Take note on that. Same is true in a leadership as well as in an organization. Okay? Sana hindi tayo magkwanggol ha. So there are leadership style. So once again, I told you this is just a refresher course kasi we are talking about leadership, the role of leaders in conflict transformation. So before proceeding to that conflict, dapat review muna tayo sa leadership. So the styles, you are familiar with this. I was also teaching sa mga recruits. Ito yung mga topic noon. Okay? At binabalik ngayon. Autocratic leadership, participative or democratic leadership, laissez-faire, transformational leaders, and bureaucratic leadership. So, isa-isahin natin ito. Look at this one. Ito fire, hindi man to police, no? Yung sa drawing, sa picture dyan. An autocratic leadership, yun bang, I as leader want both of you. That's autocratic. From the word in itself, dapat sumunod kayo sa akin. Medyo may positive, may negative. So, we move on. Autocratic leadership, authoritarian leadership is a classical leadership. What about Duterte? Authoritarian ba? Autocratic ba? What do you think? Yes or no? You decide. Pero kayo, hindi, you will not speak against. Ano ay? Siyempre, doble yung sweldo ninyo. Tama? Pero, is it autocratic, authoritative? Maybe. Ako as a civilian, makita ko unsa maning tigulanga, hindi man magpa-critic. Dapat ako lang nasusunod, ako lang bright. That's a symptom being autocratic. A traditional one. Classical leadership. Okay? I don't know with you. Sabi ko, you'll not speak against the president kasi chief of kuan ninyo yun. Pinakataas-taasan ninyo yun. At saka kaya nga, maro siya. Pinalangga din kamo. All the men in uniform, grabe ang sweldo ninyo. Okay? Tama ba? Okay. Although kayo may mga rangko na medyo percentage pero malaki pa rin. Okay. Kaya nga, sabi kung hindi kayo palanggain, you'll go against. Especially the military kayo, you'll go against. So, therefore, maro din sa critical thinker din sa as a lawyer. Gamit din ang coconut shell niya. So, therefore, being authoritarian, hindi din siya matinag-tinag. Ano ay? Nandito sa akin lahat. That's why all the cabinet secretaries, the majority, linalagay sa pwesto, all are military. Ano ay? Nakokontrol niya. Kaya nakokontrol niya. Take it or leave it, nakokontrol. Okay? So, being authoritarian. Pero is there negative, positive? Mayroon din. May advantages as well as disadvantages. Then they seek to have the most authority and control the decision making. Bahala na kayo dyan. Kaya nga, the three branches of the government, ano-ano yun? If you still remember, judiciary, legislative, executive. Anong nangyari? May control ba doon? Parabing pinalabas, wala kaming pakialam. The executive, walang pakialam presidente dyan. Pero nung nagbanta, ikaw, Dilima, grabe ka, ganito, lahat-lahat na. Ikaw, Sereno, ganito, dinan nyo. Kasi nakokontrol. Si Kaleda, wala akong pakialam sa soldier natin. Decision niya yun. Kasi nag-file ng ganito. Kita natin, being autocratic. Okay? Hugas kamay agad. So, matotal, siya pa rin ang nasusunod. Anyway, that's being also as ordinary citizen, yun yung nakikita ko. And I think kayo, you cannot also deny the fact na ganun talagang nangyari. Okay? And it is seen in an old-fashioned technique. Ayan. Old-fashioned technique. War on drugs. Pag alis ko, dapat wala ng droga. Pero ngayon, tuloy-tuloy. Kaya tuloy-tuloy. Patago. That's the point there. Corruption. Dapat walang corruption. Pero ngayon, patago. Take note on that. Sa amin, sa academe, nandyan pa rin corruption. Ang lahat na agency sa government, nandyan pa rin corruption, pero patago. Sabi ko nga, sino naman kaya ang susunod na talagang, kaya nga, yun yung advantages naman. May ang disadvantages din, hindi na masyado like, I'll cite you an example. When I renew my license, of course, may kaibigan kami sa loob. Kasi noon, yung nasanay tayo ba na pag may trabaho ka, I think, I don't know, you can attest to that, kayo, mga police officer, especially, police, ako automatic, i-cater ka kagad. May pabor-pabor. Then, ako as ordinary citizen, when I, sir, ako na lang bahala dito, sir. Siyempre, pag siya nang bahala, automatic na yan. Kasi, busy ka rin. Sir, bakit sumakay ka? The point here is, problema sa mga ahensya pag, if you'll go to the process, patagal, ipit-ipitin ka. Kaya there is something with the system natin. Patayo din ako ng bahay. Ipit-ipitin ka. Punta ka sa fire, punta ka sa lahat-lahat na. Magpa-ano ka ng tubig at saka kuryente. Grabe katagal. It will take months. Samantala, maglagay ka, boom! After a week, nandyan ang kuryente mo. Sinong sisin? Can you blame me? Bakit sinakyan ko yon? Because it is in the system. Pero pwede ko yung hindi gawin. Okay? Same is true with you. Pwede hindi nyo gawin. If you are really ideal. Okay? But in reality, kaya nga, minsan, lahat kahit na gaano ka ka-ideal, like for example, sabi ko, I have been teaching in university for 16 years. I am a religious member. I am a brother. Then when I joined the government agencies, minsan, ipikit na lang mata mo. And why? Kita mo yung pagkakaiba. Okay? Sabi ko nga, kailan ito mabago kayang system na ito? Okay? Sabi ko si Duterte ba, being autocratic leader, baka mabago niya. Kasi yun nga advantages. Pero sabi ngayon nga, hinay-hinay naman, medyo hindi mahalata, pero nandyan pa rin. Pero sana may somebody na ituloy pa din yun. Yun yung masabi na yung advantage. Okay, ito na yung advantages. Where the managers or leaders ultimately has significant legal and personal responsibility for the project. Ayan, pwede yon. That's an advantage being autocratic. Legal, halimbawa, meron kayong MOA. Dapat yung project mo matapos agad. Pag hindi, patay ka. Okay. Then, it will comfort them and reduce their stress levels. That's one good thing. Advantage. Then, the oversight of an autocratic manner exerts over a team, improves their speed, and makes them less likely to slack. Okay. Kasi gawin talaga nila kasi may kasunduan, may legality. Then having one leader with heavy involvement in many areas makes it more likely those problems are spotted in advance and deadlines are met. Kaya nga, that's one advantage of being autocratic. Like magawa ka ng building, di ba? Ang engineer may MOA. Kailan ito pata? Like in Cotabato City. Ang KCC ongoing na. So may target date, yan sila. After 3 years or 2 years or ilang months, dapat tapos na. If I am the engineer, hindi yan matapos, lagot ako. So that's being autocratic. So advantage din yun sa autocratic leader. Then when only one person makes a decision with a minimal consultation, decisions are made quicker, which will allow the management team in response to respond quickly. Ayun. Ako lang mag-decide, so therefore ang bilis. Okay. So yun yung advantage. Ang disadvantage naman, while leading autocratically will enable faster decisions to be made in the short term which will lead to poorer decisions and productivity in a long run. Ito naman yung disadvantage. Poorer decision, and when it comes to productivity, magka-problema din. Okay. Then, taking as much as responsibility and involvement as possible, an autocratic leader naturally works at their own fullest capacity as long as on a long term, which can lead to stress and health problem and damage the working relationship with the colleagues. Yan din yung problema. Like sa ating Pangulo, grabing trabaho, matanda na siya, dapat pahinga din siya. Hindi lang, hala, sige, go, 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 nang go din. Okay? So, yan yung disadvantage. Then, what about this participative? This is now the opposite of the autocratic, the participative or the democratic style of leadership. This style involves a leader including one or more employees in decision-making process, determining what to do and how to do it. Then this style promotes a sharing of responsibility and exercise of delegation of continual consultation. Leader shows greater concern for his subordinate. Ayan din yan. Opposite din talaga siya. Hindi lang ako mag-decide, dapat lahat tayo mag-share tayo ng decision. Kaya being participative. So the opposite of autocratic. So look at the drawing. Let's work together to solve this problem kung may problema. Okay? So once again, that's the opposite. Then the manager seeks consultation to all major issues and decisions. Then manager effectively delegates the task to subordinates and give them the full control and responsibility. However, a leader is the final decision-making authority. So although ganun man yan sa democratic, may mga decision body making, but still titingnan din yun sa leader kung ano yung dapat. Kung baga may mga recommendatory dito na mga tao, pero at least nag-participate lahat. Okay? Kung ano yung acceptable din sa pinaka-head, okay lang din. O hindi din nasasaktan yung iba kasi they were being consulted at saka nagpa-participate sila. Then using this style is not a weakness. Take note. Using the democratic style is not a weakness. Rather, it is a sign of strength that employees will respect. Then a leader is not expected to know everything. That is why knowledgeable and skillful employees are also employed. Okay? Because hindi naman jack of all trade talaga ang tao kahit nagaano ka-bright yan. So kaya kinonsider yung iba na kahit na pagpalagay natin na medyo hindi naman mahina, pero mayroon din sila dapat na talent na i-consider. Then a leader welcomes feedback and result of the initiatives and work environment. So welcomes feedback. Of the feedback, it can be positive, it can be negative. A feedback can be constructive, it can be destructive. Pero an autocratic leader, pag may marinig, mag-comment, nandito naman si Trillanes, nagsalita naman si VP, si Lenny. Wala yan siyang nagawa, hindi yan karapat-dapat mag-lead. She has to refresh the law, hindi niya alam. So madaling salita, bugo siya. Yung mga anti-Robredo din, kay anti-yellow, bugo talaga, wala talagang kaalaman. Na, as a good leader, sana, if you are not an autocratic, titingnan mo, may naitulong man. Tingnan nyo, ano nangyari yung tukhang, napansin niyo yung tukhang. Then, ginawa siyang SAR. So, ngayong nag-initiate na, tinanggal kasi nakialam daw sa nag-report doon sa US, ganito, ganyan. Not a good leader. In a wide sense, In a wide sense. Okay? Tingnan ninyo yan. Kaya nga, be a critical thinker if you are a leader. Hindi lang sunod ng sunod ka lang din. Then we move on. So, advantages, junior employees are given fair amount of responsibility and are allowed to challenge themselves. So, kahit na kayo, you can apply this to your organization. Kung ikaw chief of police, may bago dyan, alamin mo kung ano yung talent sa bago mong police. Kung magaling siya sa IT, gamitin mo siya. Galing siya sa communication, magaling magsulat, gamitin mo siya. Kasi may talent siya. Then it would be good kung dito ka sa democratic. Pero pag autocratic ka, utos ka lang, ikaw magaling ka ganito ganyan. Not participative. yung busing-busing ka, may problema tayo dyan. Okay? Di ba ang ganda, mga bagong pulis na sasama sa inyo? Kasi ngayon, iba na. Iba na. Ano ay? Hindi naman knowledgeable ang mga bagong pulis ngayon. Kayo, mga veterano na, like for us, sa akin faculty, na there are things na hindi ko alam. Kahit na doktor na ako, and here comes a new graduate, new teacher, bagong pasasalit. Kaya nga minsan, pag sa mag-demo, kita ko, wow, kagaling nito. Hindi ko alam ito dati Itong mga tinuturo niya. Kita mo? Because we don't know anything. Everything. We are not jack of all trades. But if there's somebody na, ganon mo siya, mga talent, di ba ang ganda ng organisasyon? And I think ganon yung ginagawa ninyo mga pulis. Kaya dito nga sa inyo, nag-observe ako dito, training center, at saka may mga program, kung sino yung kita nila magaling mag-MC, siya yung MC kasi siya yung magaling. Kasi yung talent niya. Okay. So yan tingnan ninyo yan. So we move on. So the disadvantage of a democratic, so may hindi din magandang naidudulot. Seeking consultation over every decision can lead to a process very slow, which is true. Sa kadami-dami, so therefore, kung marami puro bright yun, kaya nga like sa amin, every time may academic council kami, puro doktor, puro bright, lahat magsalita kasi pagalingan. Kung sino yung mas malakas ang karisma, kung may votation silang nasusunod. Pero when it comes to decision making, very slow. Nag-participate nga, pero the problem, ang process magiging slow. Then, many managers simply pretend to follow a democratic leadership style. Ayan, nagpretend lang, pero sa totoo lang sila pa rin nasusunod. Then employees are quick to realize when their ideas are not actually valued. Ayun, maro din. If I am the employee, like sa example, sa inyong organization, okay? Kung maro-maro man ang pinaka-head, alam yan ng mga nasa subordinate, maruan lang tayo ni sir. Like for example, in my experience, during our meeting, I have my bright idea. Sabi ko, hindi na lang ako mag-share. Kasi mag-share ka, ikaw man papagawain. Okay? Hindi na participative. Kasi, you have a good idea, so do it. Then after that, ginawa mo, dawlems ba yung tawag dawlems? Dawat limpyo. Ikaw ang naghirap, sila ang nakinabang, sila din ang, kung when it comes to promotion, sila din na po-promote. And surely, nangyayari din yan sa inyo. Tama? Sa inyo yung achievement, kinuha sa leader, kayo nawala. Tama, mali. You know that one. You know that one. May mga tao din sa organisasyon ng mga dawlims. Cebuano, dawlims, dawat og limpyo. Dawat og limpyo. Kaya nga yun yung disadvantage of being also itong sa democratic or participative. Okay. I think malinaw yan sa atin. Then, we have also the so-called delegative leadership style. It is also known as a free rein or laissez-faire. Itong laissez-faire na. Okay? It is a French word, means leave to it. Yung in short ba, hinayaan lang sila. Sige, hindi natin basahin. Move on natin yan. Yan. Look at that one. You two take care of the problem and I will go. Kita ninyo? Hinayaan. Grabing free talaga yung mga members. Okay nang bahala dyan ha. Kasi alis ako dito. At saka nangyayari din yan sa inyo. May mga leader ganyan. Okay? May mga leader na ganyan. Yun yung problema. Then, halimbawa, ikaw yung merong sa estasyon. Ikaw yung pinaka-head doon. Because yung leadership, ganito yung laissez-faire, sobrang tiwala sa mga kasamahan mo, ay, buddy, kayo muna maiwan ha kasi may puntahan muna ako. Then ngayon, kung sinalakay yung inyong detachment o inyong station, diba nangyari sa Surigao, sa Agusan, sa Bukidnon, mga detachment sa mga station sa mga pulis, na, pagdating, saan ang inyong pinaka-head na nawala? Saan pumunta? Diba? Kita natin? So, yun yung style, laissez-faire style. The no control and leader gives complete freedom to his subordinate. Hindi din maayo. Hindi din maganda. Then group member performs everything and the manager usually maintains contact with the outside persons to bring information and materials. Pero dapat sa inyo, hindi to dapat pwede sa inyo ha. Especially kayo mga police officers, may dapat kung confidential, para lang yan sa inyo. Kahit na asawa ninyo, huwag ninyong isabi. Kasi pag mag-leak yan, kaubo ka. Kaubo din kayo. Especially pag may operation kayo. What is confidential for this should be confidential. Dahil kaya nga iwasan itong laissez-faire leadership. Kasi pag ganun yan, pag mag-leak yan sa community, alam naman din ninyo yan. I have a lot of friends, classmate, mga officers na police officer. Automatic yan. Sa Cotabato City, dito sa amin, matuwa lang ako. Okay? May kinakapatid ako. Then, ang nangyari, ganito yan. Yung mga vendor, sidewalk vendor, mga kasamahan niya, mga pulisya, din nagsabi sa akin, yung mga may mga bad omens na mga pulis ba. Lahat may mga tauhan yan sila dyan. Okay? Pero hindi na yan ngayon, noon pa. Medyo ilang taon na. Tapos, every afternoon, kasi alam man, illegal man yan, mga sidewalk vendors. Every afternoon, may mga bata-bata dito mga pulis na kinukuha yung kanilang, kumbaga, share, parang tong. Okay? Pag magsabi yung kanilang leader, mag-grade tayo ngayon. Tawagan agad yan. Pag punta doon, nawala na sila kasi may contact. Once again, nangyayari ito. And I can attest to that. Mali. Okay? Sabi ko noon ito ha, when I was still young, hindi ngayon at least nabago na. Pero ibang mga friend ko wala na rin sa mundo, wala sa mapa kasi sila yung mga pulis na pinapatay. Okay, bad leader. Take note. The disadvantages of laissez-faire, of confusion and chaos. Tingnan nyo. Conflict and indiscipline. Lack of cooperation. Poor performance of work. Of course, kipasagdahan lang nimo. So that's the problem of laissez-faire. Na sana hindi tularan na. Then a good leader uses the three levels. Of course, you can combine the three. Okay? Depending on what forces are involved between the followers and leaders. And the situation, some examples include using authoritarian style on the new employee who is just learning from the job. Pwede. Then leader is competent on a good coach. Then an employee or the employee is motivated to learn a new skill. The situation is in a new environment for the employees. So, pwede naman. Okay. Gawin mo ito bata, ganito, ganyan. Being autocratic, okay lang din. Okay. Pwede ka rin maging democratic. Okay. Using particular style with a team of workers who know their job. Okay. So, alaman ninyo yan. Pwede tayo, participative tayo. Gamitin natin yung talent ninyo. Then the leaders know the problem but does not have all the information. The employees know their job and want to become part of the team. Then using delegative style, with the worker who knows more about the job than you cannot do everything and the employees needs to take ownership of her jobs. In addition, this allow you to be at other places doing other things. So, kita niyo how to combine the three style of leadership, the autocratic, the democratic, as well as the laissez-faire. Pwede pala. It depends on the situation. Okay? It depends on the situation. Okay? Pero if you focus more on the laissez-faire without considering the two, the democratic as well as the autocratic, magka-problema ka as leader. Okay? Then, using all the three, telling your employees that a procedure is not working correctly and a new one must be established, that's being authoritarian, asking for their ideas and input in creating a new procedure, that's also participative, delegating tasks in order to implement the new procedure, that's a laissez-faire. So, once again, you can combine the three style of leadership. Then, of course, ito, naiiba itong transformational leadership. from the word transform, na sana tayo at saka kayo, medyo ano na kayo, kung baga veterano na sa serbisyo, okay, dapat nagtatransform yung leadership natin. Noon, dito pa tayo, then hinay-hinay, nagtatransform na. Okay? Leader motivates the followers to perform their full potentials over time by influencing a change in perception. And these leaders use the charisma. Okay? The personal attractiveness that enables you to influence others. So, gamit sa charisma. Being transformed, kaya nga minsan yung mga leader, o kahit in a company, kahit na ang presensya lang ng doon siya with the employee, yung employee, grabe, masigasi niya magtrabaho. Okay? Kasi nakikita, nag-transform na yung leader. Okay? Hindi na sa autocratic, hindi na democratic, hindi na laissez-faire ang style niya, kundi nag-transform na. Then, pag nag-transform yung leader, kaya nga it would follow. Okay? Na nag-transform din mga employees, yung mga subject, yung mga nasa baba. Then, provide individualized consideration, then intellectual stimulation to produce greater effort, then, of course, very effective ang transformational leadership. What about this example? Is the Pope, is the leader of the Catholic Church transformed? Kung hindi man leader of the Catholic Church, is the President nag-transform na as a leader? Or the Ustads as a teacher? Or the Sheikh? So makikita din yan sa mga tao. Or the Imam, makikita din yan sa mga tao. Okay? Kaya nga minsan yung mga transformed leader na kayo, mga Muslim brother and sister, pag makita nyo, wow, ang imam namin doon, ang galing mag-sermon, parang tapos sa kanyang buhay, makita din namin yung transform, di ba? Kung baga ba, sana all, kasi nag-transform. Same is true in your organization. Okay? Same is true with us, mga teachers, mga professor. Kita kami sa estudyante, wala si sir, kagaling, hala, ganyan. Dapat gusto nating tularan. Okay? Kasi nag-transform, yung leadership mo. Okay. Then, take note on this. The bureaucratic leadership. Bureaucratic leadership. It is concerned with ensuring workers follow rules and procedures accurately and consistently. Kagaya sa atin, di ba? Very bureaucratic yan sa atin. Sunod ka talaga. Okay, the rule is a rule. Okay? The procedure is a procedure. Pag may kamali ka, ayan, lagot ka. Then, leaders expect an employee to display a formal attitude in the workplace and between each other. Leader suffer from position power. Ayan, mga bureaucratic. Nasa bureaucracia ka kung leader, ayan o. Suffer from position power. Then, a good leaders keep a close watch on their fellow workers' needs. Dapat, sabi natin nga, do you love your nakababa sa inyo? Do you care for them? Especially the new police officers. Sige. Leadership roles. What about our role? Kasi sabi man doon, leader's role in conflict resolution o transformation. Mamaya, malapit na tayo. In a leadership roles, when you talk about advocacy, this is helping others to grow and self-actualize and creating a culture. So, sana ganito ha, your advocacy as a leader, yung one of your role, you are an advocate na tulungan mo yung iba. Kung ano yung talent niya na ma-actualize niya. Then if you create that culture na maganda, of course maganda, ang dating talagang kung baga pwede kayong tularan as an organization. Then when it comes also to your authority, your role in the authority, marunong ka rin mag-empower to your subordinate. Empower your subordinate. Kasi kailangan yung empowerment. Okay? Kung na-empower yan sila, kahit na wala ka, transform leader ka na-empower mo yung kababata sa iyo or mas mababang ranko sa iyo, kita ninyo, kumbaga it's not an issue when it comes to authority. Kasi alam niya, you are the head, you are the chief of police, you are the boss. Okay? Then you empower those people. Kung baga, wala nang threat sa iyo ba na, baka palitan ako dito, ganito para ipatalsik ko dito. Wala na. Because you are a transform leader at alam yon ng iyong subordinate. Then when it comes to conflict management, hinay-hinay na tayong pumasok. Minimizes conflicts, negotiations. Okay. A good leader also knows how to manage conflict. Okay? Not only conflict in the community, but conflict within your organization. O kahit na with your station o sa isang, kahit na detachment ninyo. Kahit kunting alitan lang dyan, dapat as head, marunong kang mag-pacify, marunong kang mag-manage ng conflict. Huwag mong hayaan kung may kunting alitan yan, nag-initan, kahit na ang minsan kasi nag-umpisa yan sa mga joke-joke na puno na itong isa, na puro may baril. Di ba? Nangyari yan. Ayun, nagbarilan. Saan ang leader ngayon? Tanggalin ang leader, lipat sa iba. Kasi may problema yung leader. Okay? He does not know, or he or she does not know how to manage conflict. Dapat i-minimize lang daw. That's your role in when you talk about conflict management. Then in delegation naman, delegate as an authority, the willingness to support and encourage then subordinates in carrying out the task. Okay. Bata, kaya mo man ito. Sige, gawin mo ito delegate mo yung task. Even the authority. Halimbawa, hindi lang sa inyong pulis, sa amin. I am the head, a program head, then mayroon pa akong boss, may dean, mayroong vice president, mayroon pang president. Then, kung ang dean may tiwala sa akin, magsabi minsan, brother, pwede ikaw muna, i-delegate niya ako, mag-attend, may meeting kami doon with the president. Kita mo yung delegation? But I'm not the threat na magiging dean ako. Kaya ngayon, bago lang, I was appointed for 1 week as OIC dean in the graduate college. I'm not the threat because alam niya na dinelegate ako. Kuha ninyo, same is true with you in your organization. Here comes kababata sa'yo, mas mababang rank ko, pero nakita mo, okay, na-empower mo rin. Bata, punta ka rin doon kasi pinatawag tayo ni admin o ganito, ganyan o nanuman. So, dinelegate mo. Kaya delegation na in behalf of you, siya yung nag-a-attend. So, that's your role, your leadership role. Then, discipline and decision-making, individual differences should be appreciated. Ayan. Kasi sabi nga, individual differences, each one of us, each of the member of your organization is unique. So, if it is unique, as leader, alam mo yon. Okay? Huwag mong ipareho lahat. Kasi puputok yan. Okay? So now, pasok natin sa conflict. Medyo malapit na tayo dito. So, once again, that's a review your role as a leader. Now, we'll proceed to conflict. Bakit kaya may conflict? When you talk about conflict, this is the process in which one party perceives that its interests are being opposed and negatively affected by another party. Ayan, may conflict talaga. Then, conflict is a disagreement about something or of importance to its other person. This is also the ability to resolve conflict is an important part of a change management. And conflict, it is not necessarily bad. So, is inevitable and conflict is also natural phenomenon. Nangyayari talaga dyan. And sabi nga, it is not necessarily bad. Kaya pag may conflict, yun na yung dapat titingnan in an organization. Bakit may conflict? Okay, bakit may conflict? So, pwedeng ma-resolve. Kaya nga, hindi lahat may conflict sama agad. Hindi naman ganon. So, what about the sources of conflict? You take note. Allocations, availability of resources. Dito sa atin, meron, no? When it comes to politics, magsabi tayo, bakit tayo sa Mindanao pobre masyado? Doon lahat sa Maynila yung mga development. Yan, allocation and availability of resources. And why? Kung may mag-run na senator sa atin taga Mindanao, ayaw man iboto ng Mindanao, taga Manila iboto. So wala tayong representative. Sinong sisihin? Ang national government. That's the point there. Now we have the BARM. Kaya nga, BARM na ang ating training center. Maraming pera sa BARM. Pero the question on this conflict, allocation, availability of resources. Tapos, Bakit malaging delayed ang sweldo ng mga teachers sa BARM? Sabi man, billions ang pera sa BARM. Until today ha, ARM noon, BARM ngayon, until today. That's the problem now. Okay? Conflict, nandyan. Then, personality differences, alam natin yan. Na minsan, because of the individual differences, ay hindi makasundo-sundo. Another source of conflict. Then, the differences of values. Ayun. Alam natin yon. Bakit values may difference? Mayroon. Okay? Islamic values, Christian values, minsan magkaiba. Pag magkaganyan, may conflict. Then, cultural differences, kitang-kita yan sa inyo. When I had my subject, sana mayroon ibigay sa akin ng culture of peace. Pero ang ganda sana pag personal tayo kasi doon mo ba ma-express lahat din kayo makaparticipate. Pero tayo ngayon, bawal man, face-to-face man lang. And I think I find it easy na i-record ko na lang yung lecture for my own good and for your own good na baka magpasok ako dyan sa training center dyan. Tapos may dala akong COVID, hawa kayo dyan. Or baka wala akong COVID, pasok. Kaya nga lockdown until today, ba? Lockdown kayo, hindi kayo makalabas. Okay? So, once again, the cultural differences. Conflict. Why? Ito. I'll cite you a very specific example. We know the Bangsamoro. Marami sa inyo dito. I am also a Bangsamoro. I was born here. But, Christian lang. Pero the Bangsamoro in itself, there are 13 tribes. Then the big tribes, the Maranao, Maguindanao, Tausug. Pero itong tatlo, may conflict ba? What do you think? O kayo dito, kumpleto tayo dito. May Maranao, may Garanon, may Iranon, may Sama, may, I don't know kung may Badjaw dito. Pero kita ninyo, cultural differences, makikita yan. Discrimination, kita natin. Okay? Pero sana kayong pulis, wag nang gawin. At alam ko, nababago yan sa inyong, kayo mismo mga classmate. Nababago ninyo yan. Pero, outside, grabing conflict, cultural differences. Magsabi ng isa, nag-discuss nga kami. Alam mo, sabi ng isang Iranon, alam mo brother, ang pumatay doon sa mga Espanyol na napunta dito, yung ninuno man namin. Sabi ng Maguindanao, hindi totoo yan. Sabi ng Maraw, boo! Kita ninyo, cultural differences. Then sabi ko sa ganito, hindi tayo mag-away dito. Mga pulis kayo. Ang importante dito, na as people, as a Bangsamoro, magkaintindihan tayo, yung win-win, you have to meet at the center. Win-win solution. Sabi ko, well, mga Iranon, kung napatunayan ninyo, ninuno nyo pumatay yung mga nag-invade dito, if you are in the history, nakasulat talaga, kung wala pa isulat ninyo, baka yun yung sundin. If nabagay kayo mga hearsay lang kasi karamihan. Okay? Kaya nga, minsan, it will create also conflict. Then another thing, source of conflict is competition. From the word in itself, competition. Pero, sabi ko nga, not all conflict are bad. Kaya nga kayo, mga BF, di ba, yung sa normalization, nagturo man din ako, nandoon ang military, nandoon ang police, nandoon ang BF, friendly. Noon, wala pa itong yung negotiation. Ang nangyari, di ba, dito, friendly basketball, friendly competition. It can be good. May conflict nga, pero because of that, nagkaroon ng parang friendly competition. Then, differences in goals, ayon. Kung ang lahat na tao, iba-ibang goals nila, magka-problema. Resulta, conflict. Lahat, mga kwanggol. Di ba? Pag mag-conflict na yan, kwanggol talaga yan. Then, issues on personal and professional control. Ito, personal and professional control. Magko-conflict din yan. Then, there are types of conflict. The intrapersonal, the interpersonal, and the organizational. When we say intrapersonal, a conflict from within a team within the group. Then conflict between the individuals due to the differences of their goals and values. So, outside naman. Then organizational naman, conflict that arises across the organization. Na in which your organization and my organization, may mga conflict din talaga yan. Kaya nga sabi natin, conflict is a natural phenomenon. Okay? Hindi mo maiwasan yan. Pero may masama bang naidudulot? Meron. May mabuti bang naidudulot? Meron. For improvement. I think you got it. So there are styles of conflict. What are those styles of conflict? Accommodating, which is according to Stephen Covey, the I lose, you win. Kasi accommodating man. Then we have avoiding, I lose, you lose. So yung lose-lose, win-loss, loss-loss. Then collaborating, I win, you win. So win-win situation. This is coming from Stephen Covey. I think you are familiar with Stephen Covey. The 7 habits of effective people. Ito yung mga term niya. Win-loss, loss-loss, loss-win, win-win. Okay? Then win-win and loss-loss naman ang compromising. So isa-isahin natin ito. So the style of conflict resolution style. Take note on this Here are the 5 conflict resolution style. So bilis-bilisan natin. Ito yung from leadership, ito yung pinaka-main natin na topic. Okay. First is competitive. Second, collaborative. Third, compromising. Then the fourth is accommodating. Then avoiding is the last. So isa-isahin natin. Competitive, from the word in itself. It is assertive and non-cooperative. And I think that's self-explanatory. A power-oriented mode. People will be operating from a position of power, such as position or a persuasive ability. Kaya nga competitive siya. Then, this is best used when swift action is required in case of emergency or when the decision is undesirable. Pwede naman siya. Competitive in resolving conflict or styles. However, it can leave people feeling alienated when used in less important situation. So once again, you can only use this resolution styles, conflict resolution, competitive, when it comes to kailangan sa sitwasyon. Pero pag hindi naman masyadong kailangan, do not apply this competitive. Sabi nga, negative, non-cooperative, assertive, kasi competitive. Then, what about this collaborative? Medyo maganda-ganda konti, no? Collaborative when it comes okay, may konting interruption, so we have to move on. So the next is collaborative. This is both assertive and cooperative. You try to meet the needs of all people involved, so that's why the word from the word collaborative. Then cooperate effectively and acknowledge that everyone is important. Then it is best used to bring together a variety of viewpoints to get the best solution. So that's collaborative. Solutions or when the situation is too important for a trade-off. So maganda, collaboration, you win, the other also win. This is now the win-win situation. Then the next is compromising style of resolving conflict. From the word in itself, alam mo rin, compromise. You are at the center. So what about this? It is intermediate and assertive and cooperative. cooperativeness. You find a solution that will, to some extent, satisfy everyone. Then everyone is expected to give up and relinquish something that's compromising. Yung meeting at the center. Then this is best used when two opponents with equal power are committed and exclusive mutually exclusive goals. So, yun na yung itong party na isa, another party, they meet at the center. So, ito na yung the win-win solution, win-win situation. You compromise. Okay, may compromise talaga yan. Yun yung dapat tingnan din natin, especially pag mag-ano kayo ng may problema in the community, with the people in the community, you look at the both sides, then after that, laman mong kabila, nalaman sa kabila, then you have to compromise. So maganda din ang resulta. Then the next style in resolving conflict is accommodating. This is the opposite of competing. It's an assertive and cooperative. Meeting the needs of others at the expense of own needs. Ayan, medyo may pagka-negative din siya. Meeting the needs of others at the expense of your own needs. Pwede naman din ganon. Sabi ko nga, when you talk about conflict, it is not necessarily bad, but pwedeng magdadala din ng kabutihan sa organisasyon or even in the community. Then, conflict is perceived as a social and emotional issue and can be resolved with support and understanding. So, you accumulate everything, then pwede namang ma-resolve pag naintindihan mo at saka mga suporta. Then, it is best used when maintaining harmony and avoiding conflict is more important. So, once again, nagagamit siya when maintaining harmony and avoiding conflict is more important. That's why it's accommodating. Another thing, it is best used when you realize that you were wrong and you want to allow a better solution to be considered. Another thing, it is best used when you want to help your employees or your subordinate in your end develop by allowing them to try and learn from their mistakes. Okay lang yan. You allow them, then, okay, I learned from you. Kahit na medyo may problema, medyo may mali. Then, ito namang avoiding. From the word in itself, this avoiding styles, sige, we move on. It is an assertive and cooperative. Ito yung the lose-lose situation. An assertive and uncooperative. Avoiding the conflict entirely. It is best used when conflict is not important. Okay lang, di man masyado importante. So, there is a need to avoid. Then, when winning is impossible, you perceive that change won't occur. At total, wala mang mangyari. So, therefore, sige na lang, hayaan, i-avoid na lang natin yan. May mga ganuning style ha. Then, avoiding, it is best used to reduce tensions and get back to productive levels and regain harmony and composure. Pwede naman, hindi naman masyado yung problema. So therefore, para productive naman tayo as a group, so gawin na lang natin ito. Hayaan na lang yun kung may ganun man na problema. Ina-avoid. So, malapit na tayo. Let's recap. Okay, once again. So ito these are the 5 conflict styles. Competitive, collaborative, compromising, accommodating, avoiding. Take note on that. Sa mga internet, Google, kung lalabas yan sa ating question, pwede nyo i-google din yan. Nandoon yan. Then people have a preferred conflict resolution style. So yon. Depende yan sa yung 5 na pinipresent natin. Ang mga tao kanya-kanya pagkakaiba. Kahit na kayo mag-resolve kay as police officer, kanya-kanya yun. Avoiding ba? Accommodating ba? compromising ba? It's up to you. Okay? Then different styles can be most useful in a different situation. So those 5 styles, pwede mong magagamit in a different situation. Okay? Then the conflict resolution style use are the result of personal predispositions and the requirements of the situation. So ulitin ko ha, in a the conflict resolution style use are the result of personal predisposition, nasa sarili mo talaga, and a requirement of the situation. Kaya with those 5 styles o conflict styles, pag nakita mo alin kaya dito ang applicable na gagamitin ko given this situation. So it's up to you. Okay? So once again, ito yung sinabi the sources of conflict. Then the approaches of conflict resolution, yung 5, nandyan, may dagdag negotiating. I think you are familiar with negotiating. Lalabas din yan sa ibang subject. Confronting, familiar din kayo. Then open communication, open and honest communication. Private, relax, comfortable setting for discussion. Then expectation of the compliance to the result by both sides. So pwede ito magamit yung other approaches, especially if there are problems in the community where you serve, kung saan mang lugar yon. Then, the roles of a leader and managers in conflict resolution, model conflict resolution as a behavior. So, nasa iyo lang talaga. Then, listen perpetual differences of parties, assist parties to identify resolution techniques. So, kayo na rin, kaya nga, it's up to you na palawakin ninyo itong topic natin so that, and surely na-apply naman ito sa inyong experience. Pero, this is just a refresher course. So once again, pwede nyo palawakin. Do not just rely on this lecture. Then, create an environment conducive to conflict resolution. Yan. Then, if conflict cannot be resolved, minimize or lessen the perception of conflicting parties. Kung ikaw, wala ka talagang magawa, mahirapan ka, pwede naman daw, sige, ganito. Kaya nga, gamit yung critical thinking na sinasabi natin kanina. Okay. Then, if you have some question, may group chat man tayo, pero personally, mahirap man din yun. There was a suggestion sa admin natin na pwede man sayo na mag-Google Meet, but the problem of your connection and our connection, I think that's true to all. May problema tayo sa especially itong internet connection natin. So, ako personally, mas maganda itong naka-record, at least makita yung pagmumuka ko, although hindi ko kayo nakikita, pero at least I'm hoping na at least may kunti kayong natutunan. Once again, ulitin ko, this is just like a refresher course sa inyo. At saka of course sa akin as your lecturer, as your instructor, as your professor, this is a refresher course. Kung baga, alam na natin ito, pero nagre-refresh lang tayo. Sa sana pagre-refresh natin, ulitin ko, do not rely merely on our lecture. Open man kayo, pwede man kayo sa internet, while you are free, pwede naman nakahiga kayo, review lang. Okay. There are 50 ways to take a break. Then, I would like to thank everyone, especially for listening this recorded lecture. But of course, para may grade kayo sa akin, ito linawin ko lang malinaw Kung if the president, kung anong feeling ninyo per company or kayo sa Alpha o Bravo company, siguro kung maggrupo kayo, kung 50 kayo, maybe pwede naman sa isang grupo 5 o gusto niyo 10, pero mas maganda 5 lang siguro kaya kung 50 kayo. Okay. The question, I'll dictate the question, pero ganito please ayusin pagsulat. Once again, ayusin pagsulat. Kasi kayo mga veterano kayo, mga professional kayo. Okay? Especially the names. So, in a group, halimbawa, 5 kayo. Kasi pagod kayo, maghangyo pa kayo, o 10 kayo sa in a group. Ayusin yung mga members, especially the family name. Kasi ako yung based from the experience in the previous batches, problema hindi ko mabasa kay yung name. So ngayon, ayusin na the name. Then of course, a reminder once again, I'll give you this parang exam in an essay siya. Hindi multiple essay. Kasi ito yung basihan sa grade ninyo sa subject na ito. Okay lang ba? Then of course, a reminder once again, you are all professional. Please do not forget the margin. Please do not forget the indentation. Then the paragraphing. In a paragraph, it is composed, I'm not an English teacher, but in a paragraph, it is composed of 5 or more sentences. Okay. So the first question that you are going to answer, personal, gusto niyo kayo lang mag-isa, or as a group, depende na yan sa napag-usapan ninyo. Okay. The first question that you are going to answer is, number 1, take note on this. Based from your own experience, how bureaucratic leadership style manages conflict? So once again, the first question, based from your experience, how bureaucratic leadership styles manages conflict? You can give a specific example or a scenario. And this is 20 points. So if it is 20 points, please do not give me one paragraph. Give me at least 3 or more paragraphs. Malinaw ha? Malinaw yan. Kasi pag bigyan ako isang paragraph, I'll also give you mababa ang score. Okay? That's the first question. So once again, the first question, based from your experience, how bureaucratic leadership styles manages conflict? And give a specific example or a scenario. Second question, take note. What conflict resolution strategy do you apply in your workplace and personal life, and how effective it is? This is a sort of evaluation also maybe from your experience. So once again, the second question, what conflict resolution strategy do you apply in your workplace and personal life, and how effective it is? This is also 20 points. Then the third question, comprehensively discuss the 5 conflict resolution styles. Once again, comprehensively discuss the 5 conflict resolution styles. Nag-recap pa nga tayo. Then sabi ko, you can also check Mr. Google. Once again, the last question, comprehensively discuss the 5 conflict resolution styles. And that's 25 points. So with that, I hope, once again, you learn something. Siguro magkikita pa tayo sa susunod na mga recorded lecture. So, as of now, dito nagtapos ang ating topic, lecture on the leader's role in resolving conflict as well as the style or the negotiating style in resolving conflict. So once again, thank you, my dear police officers. This is your friend, your professor, your instructor. I am Brother Joars Alferez. Magkita-kita man tayo dito sa labas, kahit na isang smile man lang, isang pindot man lang, sir, nagiging teacher mo kami kahit na virtual ito. And with that, God bless you all. Mabuhay, dalaygon ang Diyos.